Greetings from LA, my dear friends. This is Daisuke, and I very much hope that this video finds you well and in very good spirits wherever you are in the world. And today, if you don't mind, I would very much like to continue on with our journeys, our discussions, our discoveries, and our explorations with respect to the recent releases made under the label which is given the title of JANUS Contemporaries in connection with JANUS Films, the Criterion Collection, and the Criterion Channel, and others. And as some of you may know, on the occasion of this year, 2023, we are seeing new releases in physical media format under this JANUS Contemporaries line. And among those initial releases on physical media, we have a film which I'd like to speak about today, which is described as being from the year 2022. And the name of the filmmaker is Jerzy Skolimowski. And the name of this work is Io. This is the work, the incredible and emotionally powerful work, which is described as being from the year 2022, and it is from the filmmaker Jerzy Skolimowski, and written by Jerzy Skolimowski and Eva Piaskowska, and it has a wonderful cinematography by Michał Dimek, and the music, the great music by Paweł Miketin, and the cast. When we speak about the brilliant cast, we have performers and actors such as Sandra Dorjimarska and Lorenzo Zurzolo, Mateusz Kościukiewicz, and others. And when I say others, I would be remiss if I didn't mention the great performers that are Marietta, Taco, Ola, Rocco, Mela, and Ettore, and others. And I'm speaking of the actors and the performers that appear in this brilliant work, Io. So I was able to watch this work, Io, because I'd heard many things about it, and I was incredibly taken with this. I was so emotionally involved with this when I watched this film. And then on the occasion of hearing this news about this JANUS Contemporaries release on Blu-ray, I became even more excited, and so I was able to revisit it. And it has lost none of its power over me upon this rewatch. And in fact, I continue to find myself stunned and numbed by its power, and I'm incredibly moved. I find myself very moved by it. It has a very wonderful, delicate, and I think a very accessible story. And its accessible story can be said to be focusing in on our main protagonist, our main character, who is Io, and who is Donkey. And we see or we experience the world from or with this episodic structure with Io, the donkey, in the central role. And we see the donkey, well, first of all, we see from the very beginning a very interesting setup involving performance and the circus and the traveling theater, and a very warm relationship that we see exists between this young woman and the donkey, Io. And this, I think, forms one of the great examples that continues on through this work, namely what we as viewers can interpret from the relationships, what we as viewers can interpret from watching these relationships on screen as to how this informs our view of the character and feelings and the very soul of Io. That is to say, we see how various characters throughout the course of, say, Io's journey throughout this film, how various characters, human characters, are relating to Io in one form or another. And this can be very intimate and warm and affectionate terms, as we see in the very beginning, or it might turn into or evolve or devolve into very different circumstances and settings, because we also see Io almost uh, abruptly and quite in a disturbed or in disturbing fashion, taken away from this seemingly a place of comfort and solace. Because of other perceived notions that can be linked to the sort of social, political, and cultural currents of the time, and also um, uh, notions and presumptions of animal cruelty. Again, these are sort of externally imposed notions that seem to be either consistent with or running against our, say, ability as viewers via the great filmmaking that's displayed in this film, EO. Our ability as viewers to perhaps interpret or become really deeply and intimately emotionally involved with the life and the very soul of EO. Such that we can either agree or perhaps we can see something different based on, again, our subjective and very intimate journey that we take with EO as EO takes Eo's journey throughout the film, and that journey is made up of various people that Eo meets, and these people can have a very positive influence or maybe not so positive influence, and they might lead also to some very dark and quite disturbing roads indeed that could involve physical violence, that could involve happenstance, that could involve misunderstandings that lead to very frustrating and quite volatile and violent reactions, and thus uh, uh, inviting us, the viewers, to really feel the plight and feel the pain and feel the, say, struggle, the very soulful and very heartfelt and emotional struggle that Eo is facing throughout these various episodes. All the while, we get, again, further information or further interaction between Eo and the surroundings, and the surroundings do change, and the environments do change, and the people also change, because we see, as I mentioned earlier, other people that emerge, that come into and then maybe leave Eo's life as Eo is traveling down the cinematic journey, as a manner of speaking. And we see how these various people, as they appear and disappear throughout the course of the film and throughout the course of this journey, how they in turn either have a connection with Eo, or maybe misunderstand Eo, or maybe are a reflection of a type of humane or a sympathetic view of the positioning of Eo, or perhaps a total and cold ignorance as to the soulful existence that Eo, our main character, our main protagonist, our hero, is certainly feeling and certainly experiencing and certainly sharing with us, the viewers, as I say, we are watching and being privy to as we watch and we bear witness to this this journey that has, again, moments of tenderness, moments of serene beauty, also some very cathartic moments, also moments that really tug at the heartstrings, and also moments that make one ponder and consider aspects about the sense of sympathy and empathy, the sense of expressions of kindness that is on a universal level, expressions of kindness or lack thereof. And these are things that perhaps relate to Eo directly and specifically in terms of what happens to Eo over the course of the film, or these might be things that Eo is witnessing vis-a-vis the outside world as we inhabit the film, and as we can perhaps understand as we watch the world together with Eo or through Eo's eyes in a lot of places as well. So we get a sense of Eo's perspective, as well as we get a sense of what the external situations are that affect Eo. So it has that dual purpose, which I think is quite commanding, and it also it does so much. And that's another thing too about this film, which is remarkable, is that it does so much with the characterization of Eo, and we sometimes see human beings interact directly with Eo, oftentimes speaking with Eo, but we don't hear words spoken by Eo necessarily. But that being said, there is so much of communication, and there's so many feelings that are being communicated, and there are so many ways into interpreting the film to be able to understand what is going on and the feelings that are happening and the emotional tugs that are occurring, as well as the journey that's taking place and all the consequences that are happening, and everything that is occurring, action and reaction, cause and effect. It is all laid out in this really clear and easy to understand way that is also employing, I think, aspects of the cinematic frame, close-ups on Io that really show so much, the window into the soul in a manner of speaking. That is also added, that is augmented by the great effect of the music. I mentioned the music of Pavel Mikitin, which has this a wonderful classical approach on the one hand, and also modern and very beautifully, poetically idiosyncratic fashion on the other. That really gives this film a sense of sweep and an overwhelming, enveloping sweep that I think is really adds to the pull of the film, as well as the really effective cinematography. There are some moments that are really quite dazzling, and they go towards an experimental, almost science fiction like feel in the way that, say, superimpositions are occurring, the way that POV shots are portrayed. And it's interesting too how the objective uh, uh, things in the frame, things that we see in the frame of the film that have this objective perspective to them, in that they are objects, or they are things that are placed in the frame, such as persons or props or donkeys or animals. How they, while they serve in terms of a type of physical space perspective, they are objectively placed. There is this really incredible way how there's a subjective feel or subjective energy that is infused or that is injected into these moments, so that we can really feel the type of psychological and emotional weight that Io and others must be experiencing when we see the scenes play themselves out. And that has a richness to it that I think is really supported by the way in which the screen gives us, or the frame gives us, the space to interpret these signs and symbols and figures and objects on the screen on the one hand, while also suddenly, or perhaps very imperceptibly or abruptly, again in a very purposely poetic way, giving us these shots that are very dazzling and quite lyrical, and really giving us the further impetus into the subjective viewpoint with a lot of punch and a lot of effect. That is also added to by, as I say, the great music overlaid on this. And so it's a really overwhelming experience, and we really get a sense of Io, the character, Io, the donkey, who is so lovely, so tender, so beautiful a character, that when we experience the highs and lows, we really experience them. And when we experience those feelings of sort of freedom and liberation, simple things like being in a field and looking up, or just turning and creating a sense of disorder that it can be interpreted as a type of act of defiance or resistance. These things can be seen as moments of triumph, and even in a heartwarming way, seeing how Io interacts with people who seem to have an emotional connection with Io and Io's journey on the one hand, but it also has elements of the dark and elements of the sinister and the dangerous. And we do see also the threats and risks and the harshness and the cold realities that are also part of Io's journey, which really make for some very compelling, very compelling cinema watch indeed. And this is a film that is really overwhelming. It's moving, it's touching, it's funny, it's also sometimes very difficult to watch. It's that powerful. It really has a sense of pulling you in, and really allowing one to be swept up in the journey of Io, with all of its highs, and also say with all of its interactions with the cold, harsh realities that are also part of this journey. but always keeping in focus the soul of our character, which I think is a mark of really great cinema indeed. What a film this is! This is the work which is EO. This film, EO, is released on this physical media release, and this happens to be the Blu-ray, and it's a single disc Blu-ray release, and this is under the JANUS Contemporaries label, and this is described as being from 2022. As with the other JANUS Contemporaries releases, we don't get so much detail with respect to the production credits of the Blu-ray itself when we look at, say, the insert, but that's okay. That's okay because we do get some information about this work, again from 2022 on the back. It is 88 minutes, color 5.1 surround in Polish, Italian, English, and French with English subtitles, aspect ratio of 1.33 to 1. And it looks and sounds quite great. Indeed, but that's all the information that's at least printed on in terms of the materials here. So if you need more information about presentation and the like, I'm sure you can find that elsewhere. It is a relatively speaking, a recent film, having been released in 2022. But now let's turn to what we can find in terms of the supplements that are included with this Blu-ray release. So first up we have, well, this is the disc which is in the player, and here's the menu, and you have the option at the opening menu to play the movie. But the next option is the making of EO, and this is a approximately 24-minute discussion with Eva Pieskowska and Jerzy Skolimowski. So the two of them are speaking about the genesis and what was the inspiration, the spark, if you will, for the emerging or beginning on this project. And they recount a scene or traveling and being in Italy or Sicily, and also encountering an image that is very much akin to the nativity scene, and also their love of animals, and in particular the donkey. And this became part of the genesis of what now becomes the story of EO. And they also speak too about how they approach the characterization or capturing the soul of EO. And they mention cinema techniques, Kuleshov and Vertov and Kuleshov, and they also mentioned this idea of montage and editing, or I should be more specific, what's the notion of having an image edited with another image, a juxtaposition of two images, and based on what the second image is, we can have an interpretation of what kind of psychological or emotional feeling is occurring with the first image. So if we have shots of EO, the face of EO, juxtaposed with other things that are happening, those other things that are happening could inform how we interpret what EO might be experiencing or feeling at that particular moment. So if the other thing that is being juxtaposed is, say, a happy moment, then we can in turn interpret EO's emotional journey as having to do with bliss or happiness. But if that other thing that is being juxtaposed is maybe a feeling of fright or scare, or maybe even danger or violence, then we might interpret EO's visage to be reading a sense of fear or trepidation, etc. So, and those types of emotional reactions, I think, are but only two examples that I think can occur throughout the very spectrum of, say, the emotional responses that the character of EO can be said to be experiencing. And that's all through the magic of the type of juxtaposition or editing technique to elicit a type of emotional response in us, the viewer, as we are now enabled or allowed to interpret these images occurring. And this is, I think, the very structure of how we are then able, as viewers, as spectators, to experience the emotional journey of EO. I mean, it's such a key concept in the very history of cinema, and it is so vital. And it is still very vital even now in 2022, 2023, as shown by many films, such as this work, Skolimowski's film, EO. So It's a great discussion about the cinema theory, which is really brilliant. And also speaking about the work itself, there's also discussion about working with the actors. Isabelle Huppert is mentioned too, and it was a great thing, as they mentioned, to be able for them to work with Isabelle Huppert in a key sequence of the film. And also how Isabelle Huppert had mentioned to them how she was also, or she is also, very much um, in favor of expressing animal rights, and so that type of philosophy and approach was also shared by the writers and the directors. So it seemed to be for them to be a very, very good match, as well as always wanting to work with Isabelle Huppert in terms of the wonderful and incredible career of Isabelle Huppert. So it's an incredibly memorable performance that she provides here. And also making mention of the sweep of the music. I mentioned Miketin's music, and also the camera work of Dimek, which is also has the elements of the serene and also elements of the experimental, which is a really wonderful mix, and it's a very tight balance. It's done so exquisitely. And among other things too, uh, um, it's Skolimowski recounts a story, or recounts an anecdote that occurred very, very early in his cinema career, and also his interactions with Cahiers du Cinema, and how through a certain set of circumstances he was then able to be introduced, and this was in the 1960s, he was then be able to introduce to the film by Robert Bresson, which is called O Hasard Balthazar, which is an incredible work by Bresson, which has a structure which is focusing in on its main protagonist, which is a donkey. And so there's an interesting dialogue that Skolimowski's film Io has with the Bresson work, O Hasard Balthazar. And Skolimowski mentions that directly here, in a very, I think, direct and very honest way, and it's quite a wonderful moment in this interview that is filled with wonderful moments. So please check this out if you can. So this is the making of Io, approximately 24 minutes. That's not all, because then we have a supplement which is called All the Donkeys. This is approximately 4 minutes, and we have a film festival clip, but then this is going into another interview again with Iva Pieskowska and Jerzy Skolimowski, and they are speaking about the performers, a very, very key group of performers that are portraying in their own ways, in their own special moments in the film, the main character of Io. So Io, the performance, is actually made up of a number of different donkey performers, and those wonderful performers are Marietta, Taco, Ola, Rocco, Ettore, and Mela. And it's a it's a it's a great supplement, because we actually see the specific parts. For example, Marietta and Marietta's portion in sort of the early parts of the film, or Taco and Ola and Rocco and Mela, or where Ettore appears, and they all appear in very specific parts. And so there were some donkey performers that had certain specialties, and so one was referred to as having action specialties. So a lot of movements was involved with one performer, and then there was one that was involved with flashbacks, and there's one that was involved with close-ups, etc. So and there's one involved or a couple involved in specific scenes involving a villa, or involving a wide expanse of outdoors. So this type of discussion is made specifically with each of the donkey performers in this great, great short, and that's again a great reminder too of how important this performances, or this collection of performances, are in creating this key character of Io. So well done for being able to include this. I love this. I really, really love this, and it was approximately 4 minutes. So please check this out if you can. And then the supplements continue on with a trailer, and so please check out the trailer as well. So, and then also I forgot to mention too, there is the essay, which is also part of this here, so I should make references. Io, A Donkey's Life, Michael Joshua Rowan. I recommend watching the film Io first, and then you can read this great write-up. It's 2 pages, so this is the how the JANUS Contemporaries Blu-rays have the foldouts so far. So it's a great write-up. It's a great essay. So please check it out if you can. Again, after watching the film Io, it's a great film, and it was so great to be able to watch it again. I watched it a number of times actually on this Blu-ray, and it's really emotional. It's very powerful, very, very moving. And it really has a resonance in it. The way in which it affects you and grabs you and pulls you in and allows you to be part of its space, and deals with everything, both the lows and the highs, the hardships and also the triumphs and everything in between it. This main character that is Io. What a special film this is. Wow, it's great to have it in this Blu-ray. It's the work which is Io. Alright, my dear friends, so that's it for now. And so until we meet again, please be happy and healthy and well. And please keep on watching a lot of great, great, great movies, including this work, which is Io, including the other works of Skolimowski, including other films in the JANUS Contemporaries lineup, and beyond. So until the next video, my dear, dear friends, stay strong, stay safe, and cheers.